the nice theory that women are far more durable. There is the
read the description of the meeting, and well, luckily we have the guy that initiated all this with us today, which was Miro. Miro said, well, he asked the question on the WhatsApp group for Madrid, asking if someone was into speed reading, and that prompted kind of a conversation around that. And well, we decided to set up this meeting to discuss not only about speed reading, but also about what are the techniques, the resources, the tools, the behaviors that we use to stay updated, to stay up to all the news, articles, books, etc., that we are bombarded with these days. That everything is at the point of at the tip of your fingers. That we have access to, well, unlimited resources. So how
and the
do
mass
we,
marketing.
Yes, of course, we are bombarded with all kind of info. So what can we do to stay updated? How can we select what we read or what we want to learn? Because of course time is limited, and we need to do something about it. So Miro, do you want to get started? Because you asked for that, so maybe you were looking into it.
Yeah, sure. Well, what triggered it is that I got a little bit of spare time, and I went through my notes about the books which I would like to read, and I realized that there's a long list, and it's gonna take me years. And that got me thinking. Okay, well, it's about really finding sort of focusing on what to read, but also about the style of reading, because I don't think I read particularly fast in comparison to some other people. So I thought, well, why not to try and improve this by learning some speed reading techniques? And I asked a few people around, including GBO, and generally I've got really good feedback from people who had some experience with speed reading. They actually had very positive experience. So, but you know, then you start searching online, and you find quite lots of courses, different way of learning it. So I did actually subscribe to one, and I started just a few days ago, and so far it seems to be interesting. So, you know, I think fundamentally, I think the important thing is to read the right things, because it's just impossible to read everything. But if we can improve the speed of the reading and the comprehension, I think that certainly makes a difference.
All right, interesting. And what kind of techniques do they teach? Can you share a few of them, of what they are telling you to do?
Well, I'm really early in the course, but there are few kind of key things. One is that when you got to observe yourself when you read, to actually understand how you're reading, and that lots of people read the way we were taught at school, sort of, you know, letter by letter, and you kind of pronounce it for yourself in your mind, which slows you down quite considerably. So one of the technique is to start kind of removing the voice which you have in the head, and I try to pay attention to it. I'm not really sure if I do it or I don't do it, but it seems that I do. Even though I actually, after doing some of the tests, I do read quite fast, I still have the impression of the voice in the head. But paying attention, I've also realized that some texts that I read and which actually kind of catch my attention, and I get embraced in the text, this disappeared. And it's really like it seems that the mind can absorb it much faster. So that's kind of the one thing. The other thing is then try to and then it goes to more specific techniques. So trying to see the word in one go rather than the letters, trying to see few words in one go, because we recognize the words, because we've been reading for ages, but we're just not used to read this way. So you start seeing segments of a text. So one of the techniques, you have a text book, preferably not particularly wide, and you split it in 2 or 3 parts, and you try to kind of read few words, few blocks at the same time,
Like in chunks.
like in the chunks. That's right. So it's quite few things, but I'm very early in the course, so I can't really say. But what I can tell you, the course which I have chosen is on Udemy platform. Do you know?
No.
Let me write down the name. Udemy.
Okay.
You can say it. This Udemy platform, it's great. You probably know EDX and Coursera, which are more university courses. Udemy are generally individuals who do courses. It's a lot, and the top courses have tens of thousands students. And also, I guess what I also like about that is that normally the courses are priced at around 200 euros or so for a course, but regularly Udemy has probably every 3 months a discount of 90%. So you probably won't pay anything more than between $10 to $15 for any of the course. And the courses which I've done, it's a wide variety, wide range of courses. They are of very high quality, actually. So I picked one of these courses. If you're interested, I can send you a link. And I went through the reviews before I made the decision, and there are thousands of reviews. I think the course had like 50,000 students, and there are thousands of reviews, and it's very highly ranked. Well, very highly talked by the individuals. So there you go.
Have you increased your reading speed so far? Significantly, I mean.
Look, I'm very early in the course, but I think so. Not necessarily by doing the practice, but by trying to change the way I read and by trying to see the blocks. So when I'm reading now this kind of smaller book, and they say try to make a line, and I kind of cheat and I put a pen in the middle of the page and I try to kind of tuk, and it seems to be working. It's in a way more demanding because you really have to pay attention. Otherwise, you go through the paragraph and you don't know what you've read. But
the thing is that you
yeah,
have to still comprehend what you're reading, because you may go very fast, but then you don't remember anything what you read.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what seems to be the case for me is that if I go kind of word by word, then I can start thinking about other things and sort of still keep a track of what I'm reading. Kind of with these techniques, you cannot really start thinking of something else because it's too fast. You lose the context. Which on the other hand is quite interesting. You know, it goes back to some meditation techniques and this sort of things, but being aware of what you are doing.
Yeah.
So I do actually like it, because that means that maybe I will read a little bit shorter because I get tired, but I still manage the same text, and it's probably a matter of training. Yeah.
It should be different. I imagine. Is there a difference between reading in your mother tongue or in reading in another language? Have you noticed the difference?
I don't know. I think it depends on your mastery in the other language. And
Yeah.
the habits you have reading in it, no? I'm guessing.
I don't know.
I don't know, because I'm reading, I can read very fast, both in French and in English. And I use, okay, I use like the diagonals. You know, I read like this, tack, 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 tack,
What is that?
and the other way.
How do you do that?
Are you? I'm confused.
This is what I invented for myself. I
It's a proprietary technique.
Yeah, but it works. Okay, you have your paragraphs, and you're going like this, but like in a stair and back, and then again like stairs, and focusing on the keywords.
Wow.
That's called
That
diagonal.
works for me. That's what?
Actually, I think there is a. I'm not certain if it's a technique or something, but when I was studying my MBA, they kind of helped us learn that. It's called diagonal reading.
Oh,
So you read the paragraph, you don't read, straight as Miroslav was saying, word by word. You search basically for three things: verbs, nouns, and adjectives.
yeah, this is what I
Because
do.
everything else is just filling in, and okay, you don't get exactly the same level of understanding, and let's say details might sometimes be a bit squishy. But if you're reading, for example, a business case, or if you're reading a news on a market development, or like now, for example, vaccine development or something like that, you get the keywords, the key numbers, and the key information. And you might read only like 15-20% of the actual text, but you get 80% of the context and the information. So it's like, rather than, I mean, it's basically what you was described, Leticia. It's called diagonal reading.
Okay, I didn't know that.
You didn't invent it,
You were
Leticia.
applying a
Sorry.
technique that, you see,
You
you
didn't
probably
invent it.
invented it and you don't
No,
know.
no. I guess I didn't invent it, but okay, it popped and it worked. So
And it works pretty well. The only problem is that once you become familiar with that, it is nearly impossible to switch off.
no.
No.
So,
Okay, for me, I now read a book. I want to read a book, and I have tremendous problems to read line by line, word by word.
Interesting.
My eyes have
wow.
become
It's
used.
addictive. Your mind switched off
It's not
for
switch
this
off.
technique.
It's like training. I mean, when you
Yeah.
train your body to do something,
Yeah.
it retains that. So I can do it, but it takes, for me, it takes effort. So I read a fiction book,
Mhm.
and normally, I don't know, it would take me like a month, and I can do it maybe in 2 weeks, because
Wow.
as I said, I read like I don't know, maybe 3-4 pages every 10 minutes. It is really like
What I don't understand is the diagonal goes in which sense? Like
left to right.
left to
And then,
right, but like this.
upper
yeah,
left to
and
bottom right in the stairs,
Uh-huh.
and then back to bottom left, from upper right to bottom left, like a zigzag.
it's like a typewriter,
Be aware of the
Like
punctuation.
a typewriter. Uh-huh. Okay. But
but
you go
instead
like
of,
this. Okay.
Yeah.
and I mean, it's not exactly diagonal. I mean, at the end of the day, you do
Okay, yeah, of
read
course.
left
But
to right.
okay, like this. Like you go like this. Like
Like pixelized diagonal.
oh, zigzag. Exacto.
Yeah,
Okay.
and you have to remain aware of the punctuation
Mhm.
if you want to have the rhythm and the comprehension.
Yeah.
But it works. And when I go back to something I want to read because I think the style is interesting or nice, I go back to my usual pace. That's all.
Yeah.
So how much faster would you say you read between these two techniques?
I don't know, maybe I increased maybe from normal reading to speed reading, maybe 4 times.
Mm.
Easily 3 times as fast, because as I said, you discard more than half of the text.
Yeah.
And it's it also has a big difference, at least for me, whether it's a native language or, because like you say, Miroslav, there are many things you can get from context and expression. So, you know, for example, if you see matter of, you know that most likely is matter of fact or something like that. So you fill in the gaps and you train your brain to fill in those gaps constantly. Yeah, constantly. So the more you read in a language, the faster you get. So, and again, it works. I will not recommend it for fiction or entertainment purposes. But if you're reading a paper, if you're reading a business article, I now started to publish a bit more often. So I'm looking at maybe 10 to 12 articles every week to select the one I want to post about. And I just don't look at the headlines. I go directly to the article. I do a quick scan of maybe 15, 20 seconds, and I get the general feeling. I know what it's about. I know whether it's interesting for me or not, and whether I should discard it or it can somehow connect. And it's a 5-minute article, and I read again in 15, 20 seconds, maybe.
Is okay, interesting. Is there a relationship between, for example, the font or the size of the letters or the format in any way that speeds up, or the other way around? Like
Depends on your site.
depends on what?
Depends on
Your site.
Oh, your site. Well,
Yeah.
I have glasses now,
Yeah.
but no, it's, you know, I don't know if there's is there like sometimes the articles are more appealing to read, and there's something in the way they write it or put the words on the text that makes it faster. I don't know. At least for me, which I'm not applying any technique at all. I find myself there's some articles that just, you know, screen very fast and I can understand what they're saying, and others like a bit more, I don't know, boring, or, you know, I go slower. I don't know.
I don't know. I think there are studies about this. I've never read any, but I think there are studies about the font and the size and everything
The colors.
It makes articles or books easily or not readable.
I think in general, long paragraphs with
Long
like
descriptions.
it's long paragraph and small letters or small font size. That is more challenging to identify the keywords or the key meanings. So that will actually take you more effort to read through, and that's why most people recommend, you know, keep it like 3-4 lines per paragraph max, and one paragraph, one idea.
In English, 3-4 lines per paragraph, not in every languages.
Well, yeah, I'm talking mostly Spanish, English.
Right. Yeah, one sentence, one idea, one sentence is for English, I'm sure, not in French, for example.
Oh, why not? Well, I don't know French, so I don't know, but I know Spanish and a bit of Italian. So why?
Yeah, in French.
Why would be a difference? That's interesting.
Those big sentences, complicated ones with relatives, and go back. You have to read it twice to remember the subject and everything.
Oh, okay.
This is like writing is art.
Hello, everyone. I just joined it in the middle of the conversation, so I tried to catch up what you're talking about. But I really would like to to get in, especially when you're talking about the sentences and the wording and the communication as it is. I'm not sure. Are you talking about the content creation for books or for the websites or for no? Okay,
we are actually talking about speed reading.
Yeah, I understand what you are talking about, speed reading and about usability of the context or the text. but I was not sure about what format or in which context, because I joined a bit later.
In any context, that was a question I had, because looking at the other side, like if we want to, it's not only applying a technique for how fast do you read and comprehend, but also if you are writing, the document, what kind of things do you need to do to allow the reader to go faster, or if they apply or not the techniques. What kind of things really, besides techniques, accelerates the reading and comprehension of a wording, of a content?
This is the topic of usability, and I went through a lot of these teachings, learnings, courses, and workshops regarding the usability of anything. That's why I was not sure, are you talking about the books? Because books has their own fonts and specific way to write them or format before you publishing this. Even, for example, Amazon offers just specific fonts, what you can use for the Kindle, because otherwise you cannot, in the Kindle, you will see anyway, just they have 3 or 4 fonts what you can change. So it's made specifically for the Kindle, and you cannot even format it in your way, your book. PDFs and other things, yeah, sure. So this is what I'm telling you. If you're looking for the ways how to format your message, for example, the sales, whatever, in the sales text, the documents is a separate thing. I never, even today, I was reading Google manuals about their services. It is written so uncomfortable for the user. I just want to skip everything. Even I really care about the topic, but I want to skip everything because it's
so
unreadable.
You read it very fast.
No, it's unreadable. I don't understand nothing. And for me, the speed reading was really interesting but anything what I tried, at least in my practice, never worked because you skip the main parts. And later on, and especially in the documents, legal documents, if you skip two words and they have a meaning.
You can't speed read.
No.
Yeah, you can speed read. So so what we are talking about, the books speed reading, or just, and somebody said, never try this on the fiction books or entertainment books. So where you can use the speed reading.
I do it even in fiction books.
You do it, yeah?
When you have like these big, long descriptions.
Okay, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
just I read enough words to set the.
Yeah, it depends. Yeah, it depends on the novel.
That's all.
Yeah, it depends on the book.
Yeah.
But can you, Leticia, can you slow down the speed reading?
Yes, I slow down probably in things that interest me. I speed read to set the decor, and then I slow down when it touches like inner feelings, emotions, relationships of the characters.
Yeah.
Semantics.
But what I mean is using still the technique which you've described before, but do it in a way that your comprehension or your absorption of the word is greater. Can you do that, or is it either speed read or normal read?
No. I speed read when the scene is defined in my head, when the comprehension is checked, and then I slow down if there's a break or something telling me, up, you missed something. Then I go back a few words, and then I re-speed, and then I slow down. I read with an objective, understanding, or I'm seeking pleasure of the reading. It depends on the objective.
And you mentioned what French language is really different. Like, why you think in that language they're using so many those, let's say, difficult words or expressions? Why?
We
Is
love
it?
complicated.
Oh, okay. This is what I wanted to learn. You
Okay.
just love it.
Love complicated. We love being different. We love showing the world that maybe we are more intelligent. I don't know. This is ego. No, but French, no. This put aside, French is, I don't know why French is such a complicated language. We love mixing the ideas and showing the link between many ideas. This is not, French is still used in diplomatic um, situations. This is still the language of the diplomacy. There's a reason why. And English is the language for,
Straightforward.
yes, efficiency.
Yeah.
And I work better in English and I express my feeling better in French, probably.
Mhm.
Yeah.
This is, everything has an objective, fulfill an objective.
So guys, let me change topics a bit, not completely, of course, but apart from speed reading, when Miro was explaining what he was doing in this course, etc., I think he said one thing that to me really matters. That is, well, maybe it's more important to know what we have to read instead of just reading fast everything that we have in front of us.
Yeah.
So, in my experience, what I chose to do when I started working and I started to be stressed and I didn't have time to relax was at that time I was living like 3 hours drive from my parents' house, and I went back home every weekend. So I discovered what at that time was called executive summaries, which was a website that offered 15
Very good.
minute versions of books.
Yeah.
Especially in this time, I was really
Yeah.
interested in business books and leadership, etc. So I recorded like 10 or 20 books in CDs, and I played them while I was driving. So I could grasp the ideas of very big books. Of course, the idea, you lose lots of details. But for me, it was interesting because someone was doing that job for me. I
Yeah.
just was offered a selection of the topics I wanted to pay attention to. Somebody read those, somebody made a summary of the key ideas, and I was very impressed about that. And now, with tools like Blinkists and
Blinkist.
all the other alternatives to that, you get more or less the same thing. You can choose the books or the topics that you are interested in, or what you want to read, and they send you a selection. And again, I think that if someone does the job for you of selecting things, of reading through lots of things, of taking the fillers out of the equation and just leaving the good information, I think that is worth has more value than just speed reading.
Yeah.
Because for me, at least, the most important thing is to know what to read. What do I have to invest my time in? So, what's your take on that? Have you tried these tools? Are you doing something similar?
Blinkist, yeah, in the past, yeah.
I tried this, but then I read some comments regarding those what you're listening, because I was listening also to audiobooks, basically those 15 minutes books. I really love because it saves my time, and I want to read whole book, but usually I don't have time. But later on, when I started to get into this, because I really love the idea, I started reading some comments from the readers who really read those books, and they listened to those shortcuts. And they said, oh my God, you just took really not important part into that book. So basically, it also depends on the who is taking that information.
Yeah,
So
very subjective.
yeah, it's really subjective because you're reading totally new thing and subjective opinion of the person who is creating that short.
Yeah, well, but
So,
that's
but I think it's very difficult, Martin, to read a 200 pages book
I
and
understand.
get,
yeah.
get
totally-
something.
You
yeah,
can't
I
do it
totally get it.
objectively.
But now you need to read the reviews before you're reading the short. Is it a good short?
Oh, so now you have more things to read.
Yeah.
Yeah, but why would you want? I think I prefer reading fewer books, but read them entirely and making my own opinion and taking my own pleasure than reading or listening to what someone else has taken from it.
Yeah, but if you want
But
to
it's
get
not
access
one thing or the
to,
other. I think you can do both.
Yeah, you
yeah,
can.
of course.
Depends on the
Yeah.
book.
I mean,
I
yeah,
think
depends
that
on
the
the
idea-
topic, depends on the content. You maybe, want to know about, I don't know, whatever.
At the moment, I'm looking
Climate
at,
change, and you just want to get an understanding what's going out, what's going
it's
out
like
there.
a
about
trailer,
climate change.
I would say.
Yeah,
It's like
exactly.
a trailer of the book.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
exactly.
And then if you're really keen to understand, or you love that, you're passionate about that topic, then you go ahead and get the books and apply speed reading. So I
Yeah,
think both things are useful.
I think I love reading too much.
Yeah, yeah. me too.
Have you tried video, like YouTube or other platforms?
I used to I'm used to watch YouTube videos too on the topics I want to get into, and I normally do this when my kids are in bed, so it's normally very late or very early, but rather very, very late. And then I'm always working in front of a computer, so my understanding and my willingness to read is not very high at those moments. So I rather watch a video about a topic than reading a book or an article. So yeah, I've used that. But again, especially in YouTube, what I find is that you will see what they want you to see, because you, for example, I love space and galaxies and stars and things like this. And when you look for something, you get 3 or 4 sponsored content, and then the most viewed, etc. So it's very hard again to find things if they don't want you to find it, because there are so many things that you get lost. That's why I like the idea of someone doing the job for me and just saying, okay, these are
Yeah, why not
brief
get the help?
summaries, or these are the most viewed things, or these are the best-selling books, or whatever. And then, of course, if you want to get into further detail, you read the whole book or read the whole article or whatever.
by the way, do you use that speed watching and speed listening on YouTube or other platforms? Like, changing the speed, how the content is. No,
I've never done that.
I'm always, I almost every time using this, because if I see 1 hour of the content I would like to consume, you just put 1.5 speed. Okay, so in 40 minutes, I will get that content. Usually it works, but sometimes just people speak too fast, and it depends. It really depends. But
What are the speeds that you can choose?
1.25, 1.5, and especially when I'm editing videos and you're listening to the same again and again.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just from editing side, you always use the speed listening, and sometimes you even forget the right voice of the of the author you're listening, because you're always listening to fast them. So
Yeah,
by the way, I really
marks.
recommend this if you need to consume more information. So
I don't tend to listen books, audiobooks, but on YouTube talks, it's extremely rare that I would listen in normal speed. It's normally 1.5 or 2. Or courses, actually. The Udemy courses where it's talk, 1.5 or 2, and it happens to me. Just recently, I was listening to this course, and then there was something a little more complicated. I went to normal speed. And I was like, oh my god, I can't listen to this. Like, you get so much used to the higher speed that it's much more natural.
Did you can grasp all the meaning, or you lose parts?
For me, I'm almost never lose anything. With speed reading, you lose a lot, at least in my experience.
With speed listening,
Yeah, but speed listening, no. I think you just consume. Sometimes I slow down if they talk too fast.
Okay.
So
because so far I've just used this to watch Formula One races when I miss the live race, and I see it like when my kids are sleeping. I just put 2 or 3 plus to see what happens, and then I slow down if something interesting is going on. So maybe I'll try this also with the YouTube videos.
I think it gets a little bit of time to get used to, but yeah, I'm very much into it.
try after 5 minutes of listening fast to go back to normal speed. Then you will feel the difference.
The difference, yeah.
Okay.
Well, sorry, I have to rush because I have a dentist appointment. It's very funny.
Oh,
Not fun.
I would rather stay here with you guys. Well,
I
it
have
was
like
a
Maria.
very interesting, lovely group. Have a nice Christmas wherever
You too.
you are. Okay,
Yeah.
and stay safe.
You too, Maria.
Okay,
Bye
bye-bye.
Bye,
bye.
Maria.
Thank
Bye now.
you. Bye.
and I have the next one in 10 minutes. So I'm going
Okay.
to leave you two and have something to eat before.
Okay. Okay,
Thanks.
Leticia. It's been great.
It's been great seeing you.
Thank you
Martin,
for French.
Ciao.
Martin, we can exchange anytime. I think we're doing the same job.
Okay, let's connect. Yeah, sure.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Leticia.
Ciao.
So, any other techniques, any other tips? Because
I wanted to ask, because maybe I skipped this and because I joined in the mid, maybe you already talked about this, what you can offer for me who couldn't find any speed reading, like good techniques, or at least for you, it helped something.
that's all Miro. Miro will help you.
Okay.
Miguel is actually joking because
No.
Miguel heard me saying early on that I only very recently started the course.
But you did the work of looking for a course. So if you chose that one,
maybe you have
Martin,
something. Is it good or not? At least, and if you can share your last experience, it would be great.
So I did some research on different courses, and I choose one from Udemy. Do you know Udemy?
Yeah, sure.
I can in a minute send a specific link to this course, and I choose it because it had lots of people who did this course, tens of thousands, and it had very high rating. And on the top, it was not just about reading; it was about the retention and memory, etc. Which okay, maybe a little bit of a benefit. But the main thing was that it has very high rating. And what I understood is that in principle, what they teach you is kind of the same. There's not too much difference. So I thought it would be nice to have some particular a platform where you can practice the speed reading, but I haven't really found that one. So this is more of a theoretical thing, and because it has very high rating, and also the price was actually very low. I was saying Udemy has discounts every 3 months or so, so you buy these courses for $11 or so. Although normally they are for 200. You always, if you wait, you always get them for this price.
They will never are for 200.
No, I don't think so.
It's the problem of the Udemy, but yeah.
Yeah. But my experience with generally with Udemy courses was very good. So I've chosen this one.
Can you paste the link?
Yeah. I'll do it now.
Perfectly.
And Okay, speed reading is great, but what about the other way around? What about if what we or authors wrote was just easy to read? I mean, 5 minutes, 10 minutes at most. And then if you want to get into further details, you have links to further info or whatever. For example, I will go to a specific example. I know that many of GBO members don't read the newsletter, and I know that it's long. Well, everything is relative, but for a newsletter, it's long, and we get lots of newsletters. And when we see an email that we can see at a glance, just in a screen, we normally just say, okay, I will read it later, or I won't read it at all.
And you
But
never
what if,
read it again.
that's right, that's right. So you just leave it there. So would it be more effective to have just 2, 3, or 4 lines with headlines or topics or very small pieces of info, and then a link which is with each line? Would that be more effective, or the ones that are going to read it will read it anyway, and the ones that will never read it won't read it, even if it's easier for them?
But it depends on the context, where it is, the format or the platform, where the person sees it. It really depends. And also depends on the audience, who is reading and who is consuming the content. So when you have those two things together, then you can decide. And plus, another thing, never listen to any marketers who say one or another way. You need to test on your audience. It just, I saw it too many times, like, oh, I know how to do it. And for that audience, it works totally different. So you always need to learn about your audience and just use the way how your audience consumes it. If it doesn't consume, you're doing something wrong, but you need to ask and understand the audience. So it really depends. Some people sense and always say, send short emails with 1 sentence or 2 sentences and the link. Others say, I tried, it doesn't work. For others, it works perfectly. So it really the contents, who is reading and in which platform you're doing this. For example, we're using Medium. We reposting the blog post in the Medium, but shorter version of the blog post. Sometimes Medium just get more traffic. And if people reading there, they clicking on the links, they going to the real blog post, expanded one, and that's how we get in traffic. So it really depends. And I always have the same question, like for the newsletters, even right now, we preparing one I need to send, like, oh, it's too long. How long it is, how much it is too long or too short. When I'm saying, let's try one on another version, oh, yeah, and it's always, it's discussion. So I'm not sure. This is just my experience. What?
So the best thing is to try and see what works best.
Try, learn, and then if it works once, it doesn't mean that it will work next time. You need to have the patterns over the time. So.
Okay. And what about videos instead of written material? Is that a trend now, or it does depend again on the audience? Do you think that it is more effective to have a 2 minutes video for everyone that a 2 pages message, or it depends?
I would say both. I would say, I always say this thing to, at least, sorry if somebody wants to jump, just let me know, because this is my topic. I can just speak all the time. But basically, different customers or different audiences can consume differently your content. Yeah. And for example, if you start, I always ask, what is your main platform where you deliver the content for your audience, where they are really likely to use your content? Some YouTubers always will say it's on YouTube. Marketers who write the blog, and usually they get traction from the blog readers, they will say, oh, it's the text, it's the blog post. And you will never, or the podcasters, audio podcaster will say it's an audio format, it's the best. But I will say always, like we did with the Global Business Owners podcast. Yeah, you need to have video, you need to have audio, you need to have text, because there are people who never listen and watch the videos, but they just want to read. And if you have the whole bunch of the formats, that's the perfect one. And even for each video, we creating smaller short videos, and we advertising short videos to make them watch the long videos. so
Yeah.
so
So
it's really hard to make people consume the content. Even for this, we have separate campaigns, running separate campaigns. And at the moment, I'm preparing email sequence of 16 emails, I think, to watch 4 videos. Each video is around half hour. And for each half hour video, we preparing 2 minutes recap video, so we can retarget everyone who already started watching, but they never finished. We need them to finish it. So otherwise it doesn't work. If you just send, here's the video, forget it. Maybe 2-3 people will watch it. You need to make them do this. You need to remind them. And especially like with GBO newsletter, you can have in the front line or the fold, just put lines, what topics you will cover in this newsletter, and everyone can just click to the right topic and go, or they can just read newsletter and then consume that way. So it really depends. Do you need to use the pictures in newsletter or just the text? Also, it depends. Maybe somebody will hate the pictures, maybe somebody will hate just the text and they will skip it. You need to learn, always learn. So this is how it works.
Very easy to do.
Yeah, very easy. Like I don't have the right answer after, I don't know how many years I'm doing this, but it's long enough.
Well, interesting. Thank you, Martin.
Sorry if I'm expanded too much.
It's very interesting what you say, Martin. It just get me think how I consume, and yeah, I think for me it's great to have different way of how I can get the information. Like thinking about the GBO newsletter. I mean, if there is some summary or highlights of what the individual text includes, that would work for me, because I'll spend very short time on it. But I will go through it to get the main message. But I won't read it.
Get something what is interesting in the front.
Yeah, exactly. So something, the message, kind of key message, and I'll read it, but it has to be super quick. And in terms of video,
5 seconds. Because this is how much you read their newsletters.
Something like that, yeah. And in videos, I listen to in higher speed, but usually I also do something very, very basic. I wash the dishes, or I exercise, something what doesn't really require much. And then only when it's really something interesting, then I would actually go deeper into it and read. Probably if it's something really interesting, then reading for me would be the preferred option. It's just like super fast skip read, then video, and then going back to the reading if it's something where I kind of want to read the paragraph and then stop and think about it, and then continue rather than stopping the video and replaying. So that's kind of probably my way of importance. Super quick reading, video while do something else, and then go into the reading, which I kind of read. I read paragraph and then maybe enough to get me stimulated to think about the whole idea.
Alex, how about you? If you're still here.
Yeah. No, I was listening. To be honest, I am heavily biased towards reading. I like reading, and I tend to think everybody does like that. But if I learn something, I said it in the beginning, I hired a company to help me with growing my social media and potentially, get clients through this. And I've noticed that articles are like a 10% successful compared to short posts. So just a picture of me with the key message gets on average like 1.5 times my network. That's how they measure, like maybe 1,700 views, and an article might get like 300. And that's the views, and then maybe 30 people read the full article, actually go and click on the link and see. And so I've noticed that people, at least in LinkedIn, and I'm not sure how representative that is of the whole world, but I think to some extent it is, people like to get something quick and useful for them. And then maybe, like Martin was saying, maybe if that is exciting enough, maybe they will read something. But 9 out of 10 times they want to get the nugget, and don't pay for anything else, or don't waste their time. I mean, if they learn something on the go as they scroll through their phones, well, yeah, maybe they will subscribe, maybe they will be willing to do more. But it's kind of an effort. You cannot expect them to go from 0 to 5 minutes reading. You have to go from 0 to maybe 3 seconds, then from 3 seconds to maybe, I don't know, 25 seconds max. I don't know exactly the scales, maybe a short video like Martin was saying, but get them to read an article. I mean, the good news is the ones that read are really interested in your product or in your service. I mean, that's also the way to separate the ones that are just, sneak peeking and just want to get something, from the ones that are actually interested in the content. But yeah, I mean, unless you have a huge base of 100,000 people or something like that, you have to go for very easy, very quick content, and visual wins, I would say, 9 out of 10 times. I mean,
Yeah, the same. We just had this week 2 sessions regarding the longevity of the courses, online courses, because I'm helping others to create those courses. And people think if I will give to others a lot of my knowledge and the content, they will consume it. But the problem is what even just 25% of the people who buys any course, they finishes that.
yeah.
So 25, other 75 never, I think more than 50 even never take it, the first lesson. So,
Oh my
so
God.
you
But
need
why
to
they pay
make,
for it?
nobody knows, just because you are feeling good. I bought it. I put it in my library. I
It's
have
like the
access
gym.
to,
Yeah,
yeah, it's
exactly.
like
It's like the gym. Yeah.
the gym.
Interesting. But like going to the gym, like you say, okay, I'm going to pay because I'm going to go to the gym, but you
Yeah,
never
yeah.
go.
By the way, it's the same. Like I will be smarter just buying the course about how to do whatever you want to do, and you never listen it till the end, or never even applying. I'm not talking about applying things. And when we creating the courses, I always think, is it actionable? Can this thing, what you are telling in the course, can be it actionable or not? If it's not, just forget about this. Take out everything, blah, blah things, and just make it shorter as possible, consumable as possible in shorter lessons. Then it can be done correctly.
And what do you mean by actionable?
Actionable. So when one thing I will listen to, like this video, yeah, we are listening and learning the content, what we are saying to each other, yeah. Can we make actions out of this content? You send me something, here's the link, go there, you will find out some speed reading course, yeah. So this is actionable. You're telling me what actions I need to make. In the courses, usually they say the theory, like you should, or you might make this. Now, to make it actionable, you're showing the examples, like this is how I made it, try this. This is actionable. And if you cannot show in action the same theory, this is just blah, blah. Usually it never works for online courses. So, and I'm trying just to take out of these theory things what doesn't make sense at all. So if it makes sense, yes, put it there. If it doesn't, just let's skip it. It's better 5 minutes of really actionable content than just talking about the air. Because people don't like it. They don't watch it. And even for videos, by the way, we have for advertisement videos, we're making the first 5 seconds, like we call it a hook part. So I need to hook my viewer. If it's not hooked, we lost him. That's it. And we're testing like hundreds of hooks for the same video. The content of the video is the same, but we're producing
Interesting.
hundreds of videos with the starting part different. And one hook, what works? Okay, this one works. And we're watching all the videos, especially when we have like 20 minutes, 15 minutes videos, which part people starting to switching off or stopping watching the videos. So at that part, we editing video again and creating another version. Okay, we need to make there something like what will wake up them and what will be more interesting at that part. So this is really, it's time consuming, of course, and nobody cares usually.
It's so interesting.
But
you use which platform?
Sorry?
Which platform are you using?
I tried all the platforms at the moment in the market, and I'm always comparing them. So there is no one good platform at the moment in the market. They just say what they are good, but I'm using Kajabi, New Zenler, the same Udemy. We're putting also some courses as a marketplace there. I'm using at the moment WordPress with LearnDash. And by the way, I'm preparing the workshop for people who want to run this wall platforms in 7 days, but maybe it will be next year. I'm not sure at the moment. Too busy. So, so yeah, there's a lot of things what you can do, but basically it's the content, how you put it, and can you make people get attention to it? Like 5 seconds, like Alex said, to the next 10 seconds, to the next half minute, to the next minute, and then every pattern you need to make something to wake up person and make consume them more of the content. It's hard, by the way. But today I will watch their podcast for 3 hours. It's entertaining content, but they just made me used to it, and we like to watch in the evening. So.
Right.
Sorry if I'm too long.
So it's an interesting kind of different topic, no? But where we heading in terms of education and all these platforms? I've got goddaughter who is 5 years old, and I struggle to imagine that she will go to universities as we know.
She's already learning differently, yeah?
Sorry?
She's already learning differently through Zoom, maybe, or through, I don't know, the remote, maybe for 5-year-olds. It's still not. But I saw some of my friends, they said what his daughter, like also 5, 6 years old, and his grandmother learning how to use Zoom for education and other purposes. So.
Well, for sure, she has a completely different exposure. Well, I mean, when I was in her age, this didn't exist, but her relationship with grandfathers, both families being in different countries, is mostly through tablets. So yeah, definitely.
Even the relationship, okay.
Yeah, no, because she sees them twice a year in case of the more frequent one. So absolutely. They, I don't know who said it. Just recently, I had a conversation saying that over the last 20 years, everything has changed except education of kids.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we're still teaching them the old way.
It has changed. It has changed, but not the system. I mean, you have schools who have changed their approach. You have more and more schools that are opting for like Montessori and other systems. And if you go to the real world, I mean, how many of, like, for example, computer related jobs have had a formal computer engineering university degree? I mean, I know a friend of mine who makes a really good living. He is a data analyst and business intelligence. He stopped university on the first year of computer engineering, and has done everything either online or by his own learning and doing. And this is a very well educated and very well paid professional. This is not somebody who learns for fun. He gets paid for his knowledge, and he did not acquire any single of that in a university. So I think the only problem is, are you, like, for example, would any of you put your kids in a school that is not adhered to the system? That you will not get a certificate of education.
I think university equivalent is changing a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm in line with what you're saying, but in terms of lower level education, I don't really see that. Like, well, my daughter goes into Montessori school,
Okay.
but every year this is her third year in the Montessori school, and school until at the age of 18 or so, and every year it's getting closer and closer to the traditional education.
Yeah.
So it's becoming
happens.
more restrictive and more listen.
Yeah, more memorizing, more typical. Yeah, and all the people that I've met has had the same experience. We were close to choosing a school in Madrid that is called Schoenstatt, and it's a school that doesn't have school books. Okay, they create their own material. So, for example, when they're very little and they need to learn to add or subtract, they do it. They take a paper and they start drawing or creating the numbers. And at the end of the year, they have created their own school book.
So every child creates his own book, is it?
Yes. It would be different. Yeah. I mean, they follow a program. It's not like, okay, do whatever you want. I mean, obviously, but for some people there will be more additions because they have problems with additions. For some people, the learning challenge might be on, I don't know, divisions or whatever. So it's a bit different for each, but that is from ages 3 to 9. At 10, 11, they are already, because if you want to have a certificate of education, you have to take exams, you have to follow the rules. So there are some schools that are completely off system. I mean, they would educate your children completely following either Montessori or free schooling or whatever. And the only thing is that you have to prepare the kids for when they're 18. Well, when they're 13 to get the basic education, and when 18 to get the like the full education. Um, but it's possible. It's just that, like, how many of us would take the risk? Because at the end of the day, it's a risk. You don't know really how that thing works out. And I mean, experiments with your kids are something that not so easy to discuss with your parent or with your partner.
But if you stick to the old system, you already know how it will work out.
No, don't get me wrong, Martin. I fully agree with you. I mean, there is no worse risk than to follow what everybody is doing. Then for sure you're a commodity. And then you shouldn't be surprised that your children are basically pitted against each other and paid peanuts for a job that used to be paid very well, because you have hundreds of thousands of people like them. And in a world where they will most likely be virtual work, they will be competing not only against other Spanish kids, but India, Morocco, Africa, and the labor cost in those countries is ridiculous. I mean, I sometimes have to compete in consulting jobs with people in India, especially if they are remote jobs. And you can imagine that my daily rate, I mean, my hourly rate is pretty close to the daily rate of an Indian guy. Eight times more expensive, or, like you say, 8 times cheaper. So I agree with you. Giving them the same kind of path that everybody follows, no. I mean, it's not a good idea. I'm not saying that going completely off grid is a good idea either. I mean, don't get me wrong. Maybe, I mean, for my experience or what my parents did, I mean, I've always went to private schools, and in my time, the language was a huge difference maker, huge one, but not anymore. And travel. I mean, if you can send everybody, or if you can send your kids to the world around and have them live abroad, maybe take Erasmus years or whatever, That is what will make them a little bit more useful. But I agree. I mean, education and toilets haven't changed in 20 years. At least in Spain. In Japan,
Good comparison.
there
Good
there are
comparison.
there
I
were there
will
was
take this one from you.
there was an article of on 5 things that haven't changed in 25 years, and there was education, toilets.
Can you share if you find that one?
I will look it up. I will look it up.
Okay.
It's actually
You can
quite
send
funny.
me. I would like to learn about this.
I guess that cutlery was also in the equation, right?
Sorry, culture?
Cutlery, I mean spoons and knives
Oh,
and forks.
yeah.
Little innovation there too.
But
Alex,
there are some innovations.
Alex, you sound like you have knowledge of the school's landscape in Madrid.
Well, yeah, we changed 2 years ago. We came back to Madrid 2 years ago, and we were thinking, multiple alternatives, from public school, fully private, different, private, free schooling. So as I said, I mean, for me, at the end of the day, I decided I'm not going to take my kids off grid, like completely off grid. So I had to choose.
Is that even possible, Alex?
Yes, legally, yes, and actually, it's legal to homeschool your children.
In Spain?
Yeah. But you have to fulfill the requirements. I mean, you have to apply. It's not easy, but you can do it. Yes.
Okay. Didn't know that. I thought that you had to go to a school that is recognized by the ministry, and you have to follow ESO and things like that.
Yeah, you have to. Whether you can find a way. I mean, there are some schools who can provide that certificate for you, but you can homeschool your kid. As I say, it's not easy, and there's always a fine line, and you always are under the risk of, June, the board says, your children did not certify, and you have to repeat the course, because that's the problem. The risk is time.
Yeah.
I mean, a friend of mine, he's South African. He was homeschooled, because in South Africa it's pretty often, pretty normal. And he wanted to homeschool his kid in Barcelona, and he found a school that has the arrangement. So he actually, well, not him, but his wife and somebody else homeschooled their children. I think he does go 2 or 3 times a week for a couple of hours to the actual school for certain things. And they follow a program and they do the test, and he's technically speaking going to that school. But I don't know. I mean, maybe this is one of a kind,
yeah.
I mean, legally, if you follow the paper, Miguel, you have to go to a school that is certified. Otherwise, you are breaching the law. I mean, your kids can be taken away from you, because school is a fundamental right. And the second thing is like, you're going to waste your kids' time. I mean, they're going to be 18 and they will have not even the basic certificate of education.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But, even if we want to drive our kids out of that commodity that you mentioned, we are very constricted by law. So it's quite difficult to do that.
Yeah, and I've also met kids, parents who not when they're like 7, but when they're like 9, they send them abroad. Yes. Because there are other countries who have a different view of education. Mm-hmm. But yeah, when your child is 9 or 10 years old, and have them away for 6 or 7 months in a row, I'm not sure. Also, that's the best thing for you or your family, or even your kid. I mean, my wife will kill me for sure. I mean, I told her yesterday that our kids are going to go at least 2 years in high school away, at least, if not the full 4, depends on how much money we have. And she said, no way. I mean, I'm not going to give my kids away for 2 years. So,
well, Alex, you have the perfect play there. You send your wife with them.
I think.
Just kidding.
I like that, Mike. I like that, Miguel. I like that.
I'm not sure my wife would agree, or my children would agree with me.
I'm sure not.
Then it's you who has to travel.
Yeah. I think it will be easier if I find a job or a project somewhere else. Yeah.
Now
Alex-
everybody is remote, so I'll
Or
Alex,
maybe,
if you have a list of schools which are a little bit more alternative, you know, particularly around the Montessori method, you know, I mean, it would be great if you could share it with me.
yeah,
Yes.
I can try to cover. I mean, you have where do you live?
In Pozuelo.
In Pozuelo. Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. I will send a message later on. I think I still
Yeah.
have 2 or 3 names.
That's great. Thank you.
Well,
Okay,
we
guys. I really
digressed
need
from
to
the.
move.
Yes,
So
me
thank
too.
you.
But
Really nice to
we
meet
digressed
everyone.
a little bit, but it was really interesting. So.